and welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'll go first. I'm Patrick Cotnoir from PatrickCotnoir.com and the George Lucas Talk Show.
I'm Griffin Newman from the upcoming Masters of the Universe Revelation animated series and from the ongoing George Lucas Talk Show web series.
I'm Connor Ratliff from @ConnorRatliff on Twitter and the George Lucas Talk Show every Sunday on planetscum.live.
And
thanks again for coming back. I forgot to check to make sure it was okay yesterday that you guys were coming back, but it looks like you're back, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We just
We're here.
assumed
We
we
just
sort of had a
figured.
standing engagement. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you better check about tomorrow, because just
Yeah,
check
Tomorrow
at
might
the
be
end.
tough
That's what
for
I
me.
want to say.
I can't make any promises about tomorrow.
I feel like the content will dictate, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Well, this the minute that you're here for today, luckily, is minute 38 of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. 38 starts with everybody leaving the briefing, and it ends with Holdo telling Poe that he's dangerous. He's dangerous.
More like minute 30 great.
Exactly.
Yes. This is the dress down, right? I mean, this is the key dress down moment where I feel like a lot of people start chafing at Holdo's real estate in this movie.
But I also, before we get into that,
Mm.
humans speaking to aliens and aliens answering in their own languages is always funny.
Yeah.
No matter how many times they do it, it's very
Agreed.
funny in this one where he's just like, "That's Admiral Holdo," and the guy's like, I think that's so funny.
Yeah.
And then
Never
Are
gets...
your expectations undermined?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I think he was saying like, dude, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Because this so the alien in question is almost an accident. Like his name is Kai Threnali, and he was created because they accidentally had somebody wearing the Eloasti costume at the end of The Force Awakens, and the
Forgot
Force
that
and,
he died.
Yeah, after he died, and so they're like, oh well, now what do we do? All right, it's a different guy. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so as a result, weirdly somehow that ends up being his character. This was supposed to be a different alien or a different character, and then they were just like, oh well, we got the extra Abednego here. Let's make that make him that. And so he ends up then breaking tradition. He's the only one who isn't a Beastie Boys reference.
Yeah.
And
What is the reference in this one? Is it anything?
No, it isn't, right? It's
he's
nothing,
not.
right?
No,
Yeah.
Kai
But
Threnali
Sai-
is not.
It doesn't mean anything?
Not
it
that I
means-
can find.
Whatever your heart
Yeah.
wants it to mean.
Yeah,
Patrick.
I guess that's
Whatever
it.
meaning
Yeah.
you assign to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And so it's a no wonder he's confused. I think of he is like an imposter. He's just like, what? Yeah, that's crazy, right? And he has
Who am
no idea
I?
what he's doing.
What drives me?
But then he does say Poe. Apparently, I love it when you can. Maybe it's I ascribe that too much. To, I'm always thinking like, oh, did you hear that? R2D2 just said his name. Like I'm always thinking I can hear things, in their languages. I'm understanding it. He's talking to me.
R2D2 is like when people post pictures of their video of their dog and they're like, look, he said Jack.
Yeah.
One of those barks definitely sounds like him saying my name, Jack, and not just like bark.
A fun thing that I've done that you can go back and watch the scene in A New Hope when R2D2 first sees Luke. He starts saying a bunch of stuff, and I subtitled that scene. So what he's actually screaming about is, "It's one of the twins! It's one of the twins!" And he's explaining all of the stuff from the prequels that R2 should know about. And of course, no one can really speak his language, so it falls on an unappreciative audience.
Oh, it's like a Greek tragedy.
They do really lean into. Is it Abinado? Is that the name of the species? I'm looking it up right now.
I think it's
something like
Abednego, because it's the Beastie Boys reference, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, which they reference, but then also is a.
But they've been really leaning into that species in the new canon. I feel like they're in video games, they're in all the movies, the books, everything. It's just interesting. And I know this is a big complaint that a lot of people have about the sequel stuff, but I wish there were more recognizable aliens that were not aliens that we already knew, where you were just like, hey, look at that, he's the same guy as someone who's in Attack of the Clones or whatever. And I wish there were more aliens in the Resistance on that ship. There's so many gosh darn humans. And I'm like, just pop like one more alien in there.
They used up all their masks.
Yeah.
They used up all the masks in the Canto Bite set. 'Cause that has like 1 billion aliens in it.
I know.
Well, I was going to kind of say this when we were talking about Nine Numb. It's like you need to strike a balance between, shove all the servos in there and make his mask really articulate, and then back to the Phantom Menace where it's just like, we just got a bunch of Don Post masks and threw them on the natives here.
Yeah.
They're hanging out, And they could have just had, they don't have to be fully articulate. They could have just taken, maybe one step above a Don Post mask, but just, throw a roadie in back there. Just have somebody walking around. And you get it in, Solo has a good Rhodian in it, and some other alien races that we recognize, but.
Or even take some of those old masks with the servos in them and everything, paint them a different color. It's one of the things I don't like about this guy, whose name I always struggle, Sial Thranali or whatever his name is. But it's just like, he so clearly is the same dude as Alo Asti. I understand they're the same species, but give him a mustache or like a lazy eye or something.
Give him a mustache.
But then it turns
give him a suntan.
Then it turns into is that just Asti with a mustache? Did he not die? He just put a mustache on and hopped back on the ship?
That's a compelling thing to think about. I just also I love, what's his name? General Radis in Rogue One.
Admiral.
And I thought...
Rogue One.
Admiral.
He's also an admiral. Okay, I'm sorry. I just thought, I was like, are they both admirals? Am I being reductive by assuming that all calamari are admirals? But I like that. That's a smart approach to he's got a whole different color palette. It's very clear he's not the same guy. You're able to establish that really quickly without having to create that confusion of is this the same dude or just another dude who looks like that dude because they're using the same mask again.
Getting back to what you were saying about the lack of familiar aliens, I think it's because every time they're making a new movie, every special effects person wants to do their own aliens. They don't want to have to try to recreate someone else's design. They want to try. Although I don't know, I would think if I was working there, I'd be like, I would love to try to recreate Greedo, an accurate Greedo, because it's very difficult to make an accurate those Rhodians and those Panda Babas. Those new ones, they don't look anything like the real Panda Baba. So it's
interesting.
Exactly like the real one.
Yeah,
I refuse to call him Panda Baba. I always refer to him by his original name, Walrus Man, which is way more fun. Walrusman. But I guess it's hard. I would, if I was one of the people making the new one, I would take pleasure in making new mustaches for the old creatures that we've already seen. I'd be like,
Plus,
they have me on. I put mustaches on the Rhodians. I'll put mustache on anybody.
There's a whole new added wrinkle of, if you are, you're all into your craft. You're very much, like a creature guy. You're, old school kind of, effects makeup guy. Perfect challenge, make a physical version of some of the digital aliens from the prequels. Have one of those, throw have a Doug walking around and have it be a puppet or something like that.
Some Gungans, have some physical Gungans.
Yeah. It is
Physical
just interesting
Gungans.
because it's a great album name. These movies they make the world feel small, but then with stuff like that, they make the world feel almost too big.
That's what I was going to say.
How have we never seen this guy before? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just
But I think that's an impossible balance to strike.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, A, just because people's tastes are different in terms of what they want out of Star Wars, but B, it's that thing of I fall into the camp where I like expansion in the Star Wars universe. I like any new piece of Star Wars media to show me a new sliver of something that I haven't seen before, whether it be a character type or a species or a location or an occupation or anything. I like that sort of expansion. Some people like to dig into the things that have already been established, but I do think it's an impossible balance to strike in terms of if you're only showing us the same alien species again, people would complain that the movie is derivative and repetitive. And if you're showing us too many new species, they go, why aren't those old species showing up anymore?
But it feels like they did.
Can't win.
There's like, all right, here are the new species for this trilogy, and we're just going to use these. And now it's like, well, wait, like what? If you had changed them every movie, it'd be like, all right, well, then we're cycling stuff over. But I don't know.
Well,
just sprinkle a little Greedo in there. That's all I'm saying. That's my motto in life.
Yeah.
Just a dash of Greedo.
Yeah.
And
See
it's
some
also
more baby
just like,
Greedos.
once
Dash of
again,
Rendar.
they save the real sort of exciting, colorful diversity in terms of alien designs to your bars and your casinos, right? It's like always, that's where the most unbridled creativity is going. And then in your basic dialogue scenes, on your spaceships, in your meetings, it's like, it's the same 3 or 4 species over and over again.
Yeah.
I do like that yak guy. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? He
Blackface?
like doesn't have the neck, and he's got like the weird neck beard.
Here
thing.
in the
I like him.
Resistance. Yeah.
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 I put it down. That's not
I
Voberdan.
know people are gonna
is it?
hate.
It
The
might be.
Facebook group's gonna go insane over us not knowing the name. Sorry.
It could be Voberdan. Voberdan is. Was he one that died, or is he this? No. Oh. Let's see. Appearances. Force Awakens, Last Jedi. Yeah, it's Voberdan.
Wow.
All right.
You
What a
you
guy.
also have in this minute the sort of like fatigues colored BB droid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
Camo.
BB4. He's half as
Right.
good as BB8.
Because I feel like Bad Roundy, what's his name? BB8E?
Yeah.
What was his name?
BB9E.
90.
9E.
Short
Which
Yeah.
really, I would have liked him to be named BB-AD.
Why is
He was
that?
Bad. Bad. Bad.
Bad.
Jesus.
Bad.
I think that's a
That's
that's a classic Lucas character name. That's like, what should the bad BB-8 be called? BB-AD.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be BBAADD?
Yeah. But I like that there was a little stutter, almost like the Scooby Gang is like scared of someone. He's bad.
Or DJ.
I just feel like Bad Roundy got so much hype leading up to the release of this movie, and it's probably because BB-8 moved so much merchandise that they were just like, oh, the concept is it's bad BB-8. This is gonna like clean out the shelves. But I like this guy. I like BB-4. I think he's fun. I think it's nice to see another good BB.
Yeah.
BB-4 sounds like a perfect prequel droid.
Right. If he's here now, what would BB4? Yes. Yeah. Also, shout out. I don't think he's in this minute, but we also rolling around here. We see 2BB2, which is the kind of the 2-1B colored, the dark teal BB droid. Who I also like.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those guys on socks because Stance did a line of socks around the time this movie came out, and they thought, hey, those droids, they got to be on socks.
And 2BB2 has that cool head as well. He's got that interesting sort of head design where it feels like he's almost like Drake in that Sprite commercial, where it's like you're seeing him open up. Like the plates are revealing themselves. Yeah.
Right.
The biggest lost opportunity in this was the failure to get BB Newirth into this film.
There's still time. We'll
You can actually be a great because the thing about
done
special
the voice.
the thing about special editioning these things is you can always go back and add people or any characters walking right in front of the camera in scenes. Like that's always on the table in a special edition. You just have her walk right in front of any scene past the lens.
I mean, BB Newirth, pretty good Commander Daisy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not bad.
Can I
like
take
her.
this
I like
moment,
Amanda
though?
Lawrence, but
I was gonna say I'd like to take a
like her.
brief moment to stan Amanda Lawrence because I think this is a thing the sequel trilogy did incredibly well that it doesn't get enough respect for is bringing back British character actors playing snooty officers, both good and bad, actors with just a lot of face.
Yeah.
Like Amanda Lawrence has such a compelling face. She shows up, you're going to remember her. She's going to stick in your mind for the next 3 movies, which helps because it's not like she's going to get a lot of time to develop characters, but she's a pro. She knows how to deliver her lines,
Yeah.
and she stays in your mind. I just think she's got great energy.
Yeah.
And she gets that little kiss. She gets that little kiss later on.
Yeah, she gets an
that.
exclusively gay moment, and Disney gave themselves the Nobel Peace Prize for that kiss, right?
Although we learned a couple of weeks ago that there were the Porgs that are snuggling. Those are both female Porgs. So I think
Is that true?
predated. Apparently, there's the gray Porgs are female and the orange ones are male or something like that. So when they show a scene of the Porgs kind of snuggling, and it's two of the same biological sex Porgs.
That's huge. That's huge.
Well, going back to BB New Earth for a second, I'm gonna take us on another little departure here, and because the one time that I met BB New Earth, I was accidentally wearing a Star Trek outfit, and
Outfit, not shirt. Outfit.
Well, the shirt. Sorry, but she could only see me from the waist up anyway.
Yeah.
And that's because it had. And she thought it was cool. She's I brought this up on Twitter not too long ago, and she jumped on and said like, no, it's cool. I loved it. The reason why I met her wearing a Star Trek outfit was because she had brought it back to the store where I worked, which was Forbidden Planet in New York City, which is where I think I'm working on a theory. I don't know when you were there, but you think you might have replaced me, Griffin.
Oh, I can tell you almost exactly when I started working there. I believe it was August of 2008.
Okay, that was a little bit. No, I think there was a little bit of a gap there.
Okay. I started working there right after Dark Knight. I was there because I just remembered the two things that we just could not keep on shelves long enough, regardless of how many copies Jeff Ayers ordered on a weekly basis, were The Killing Joke and Watchmen. Because everyone, after seeing Dark Knight, heard that was the thing. That's the Joker. That's the story that everything's based on. And everyone had seen the Watchmen trailer and wanted to read that book.
Right.
Yeah. So it was August 2008. Yeah.
Is this the Forbidden Planet on Broadway that you worked at?
Yeah, I was there from 94 to about 2005-ish.
Okay.
All right. So during this time, I was working at the Barnes & Noble Union Square just a few blocks up. And sometimes on my lunch break, or after work, I would walk down to Forbidden Planet. But I was running the graphic novel section at Barnes & Noble Union Square.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I was living in Connecticut.
Oh.
But Connor, you and Peter were bitter rivals. You were running competing graphic novel sections.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say because oftentimes I was always sort of leaning the section because it was right next to the fiction section. I was sort of leaning towards Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly type stuff, which obviously they carry at Forbidden Planet, but it's not, the emphasis isn't there as much. And I would often drive traffic to Forbidden Planet if we didn't have something. I'd be like, well, Forbidden Planet's right down there. So we were competitors, but also maybe also could have been friends.
It's a synthesis. We're all team comics.
Yeah. And I might not have been the direct person who replaced your absence, but I certainly grew up in New York City, and I was regularly shopping during the years that you were working there. So you and I have absolutely, unquestionably exchanged money at one point, if not many points.
Not just right now. That's earlier. Also.
Right. Now we're talking, that's digital Venmo transactions that we're doing back and forth with each other every other minute.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was there I did right before the move from the original spot to the intermediate spot where it also now no longer is. But I was there for all this Phantom Menace hype and the big Phantom Menace push. That was most of my fond memories. A lot of my fondness for the Phantom Menace is from it was that whole push and then sleeping out on 13th Street in front of the movie theater and kind of doing the whole bit, and it was very exciting. So.
Yeah.
The pre-Phantom Menace release period was such an exciting time period because I sometimes feel like if I watch the teaser trailer for Phantom Menace, I sometimes feel like that was what I was looking for more than anything else, more than the movie, just that seeing some things and being able to anticipate the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not sure any movie could have lived up to my expectation at that point, let alone the Phantom Menace, No,
it's impossible. I think Alex just said that like a week or two ago that like if you had just seen the original Star Wars and then just watched the trailers for all the rest of them, that would be the perfect place to be.
Yeah.
I think you would be happiest if you just watched, okay, Star Wars, and then you just watch a trailer for each one. And you're like, oh yeah, and all this stuff happens. I get it.
I mean,
I sent away for the Mace Windu, you know, that you could get that
Mm-hmm.
that figure in advance. It was like a special like send away thing, and you didn't know who he was yet. But I had enjoyed Samuel L. Jackson in so many movies at that point, and really was like, it was hard to imagine what he was going to be like, because I was thinking of like the way he was in movies like Jungle Fever and stuff like that. That are, you know, that I'm just like, this guy, I just don't know what kind of energy he's going to bring to this, like this Pulp Fiction energy or this, you know, and. There was a sense of like, this guy could do anything in the movie, you know, because he was. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say, Connor?
No, you say.
It was a thing I loved as like a big dork and toy collector. The sort of preview figure tradition they had for all three of those prequels, where it's like, here's your main line, your Power of the Force, your Power of the Jedi, whatever. You have like original trilogy figures coming out all the time. And then, like, maybe a year, 9 months before the film comes out, before any other merch has been shown, we're going to slide, like, 4 figures in there, in the preview figures. And there was that fun of the guessing game of not knowing which of these figures were actually going to be prominent characters, you know?
And
Like,
which ones were going to be senators?
Yeah.
right, right. Like,
Or
I
Rick
never
Olio.
Heard the tragedy of Rick Ollier. Yeah.
Right. I just remember, like, Attack of the Clones, there was, like, Django, who obviously was, like, a major character. Zam Wessel, who was, like, prominent but small, you know? And then there was, like, a droid I still don't remember seeing in the movie, you know? But at the point, you're like, is this guy the new R2-D2? Is this going to be the droid in Attack of the Clones?
The only figure I ever sent away for, and this is insane, like, I'm just thinking about it now, I've never thought about this before. The only one my parents ever let me send away for to get was the Oola and Salacious Crumb 2-pack.
I had that one.
And I was like, why would they be like, oh, my 7-year-old definitely needs an Oola action figure?
Was that?
I've
was
never
that
thought about
through
it until right now.
The Collectors Club? Was that through, like, the
I think it was through
magazine?
Star Wars Insider, maybe, is my
Right,
guess.
right. Right. The
Yeah,
one I remember
I don't know.
I wanted so badly and I never got enough, whatever it was, UPCs or cards or whatever to get, was the Lay's potato chip Obi-Wan.
Oh.
For the special
The
editions,
ghost one?
they had the ghost
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, but you had to eat enough potato chips to get it.
Yeah.
And it was such a fight against my mom to just be like, please let me raise my cholesterol in order to get this figure. I need it.
You should have done it.
We're
Well,
not-
again, it's, you know, disposable income at that age might have been a thing. But I guess it was around the special edition when they had those in Doritos, they would have those little lenticular discs, lenticular
Yes.
pogs kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were also similarly, you know, it's like, oh, anything Star Wars. And so we were at the point, you know, literally would go to the deli, get 2 bags of Doritos, open them up, be like, got that one, throw out the Doritos. Got that one, throw out the Doritos. And it was no, you know, there was like everything I just bought just went in the trash because I was just searching for that one Lobot.
That was the other thing. I
can't-
mean, you know, there were such stories about how overproduced all the Phantom Menace stuff was. I mean, both the merchandise and the promotions and everything, that they scaled things back a lot on Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But that, like, is part of what made the Phantom Menace build up so exciting.
Mhm.
Is just that it was just like, Jesus Christ, are they ever gonna stop it with the stuff? There's just like everything has a Star Wars tie-in. Everything is a new thing to collect. You know, they got how many Pepsi cans?
I can't believe we've talked about the toys for this long. This is truly.
I was just
going
gonna
to
say,
impressive.
like, this is
really
listeners have
impressive.
long since abandoned ship at this point.
Yeah. We're talking also about Doritos and Pepsi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Broad range of subjects.
Taste.
Yeah.
Well, this is the
I
minute
do
where
have-
Well, bringing it
ahead.
back to the minute at hand. And I'm going to go back to my, this is a moment where it's coming into my, where I feel like The Last Jedi reminds me of The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in this moment that a lot of people have a big issue with, which is Poe, who's our hero. We like him. We root for him and this new character. And he's coming up to her and he's like, he has this moment where he's like, he's sort of mansplaining to her. And then she's like, yeah, thank you for, she's being sarcastic back at him. And he's like, I just want to know what's going on. She's like, yeah, I know you want to know what's going on. But the main thing she knows about him is that he just got Leia's last thing was that he got demoted because he got a bunch of people killed. And we are, watching this movie, and we've gotten to know Poe over the course of the previous one, and we are inclined to want to support him in that very Han Solo way of like, ultimately he's gonna lead to the right decisions. He's gonna make the right choices. And there's this moment when you look back at the movie where you're like, well, if Holdo had trusted him and told him everything, then he wouldn't have endorsed this whole plot that goes awry, and he wouldn't have. She should have told him. Like, there's that feeling that we have of like, why didn't you tell me? But what I love about it is that from her point of view, she just knows him as this up. She knows. I'm sorry for the language. She just knows him as this guy who screwed up. As this guy.
But that's where.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, Alex, you've been holding your tongue for this. No,
this is your turn, Alex. This is your
the
chance.
Holdo tea.
And that's so much of every season of The Wire ultimately comes down to these moments of small miscommunication, moments that you go back and you're like, oh, if only this person had known that, then it wouldn't have all gone wrong. It's the way these big systems break down. They're ultimately based on a feeling that one character has of, I don't like this guy, so I'm not going to tell him, or I don't like this person, so I'm not going to do this. And I think there's that moment where she turns back to him and she's like, yeah, you're the guy who got our whole bombing fleet killed off in this big cowboy move. And it's sort of that thing where in war, you have like soldiers who do things that get a bunch of other guys killed, get a bunch of other soldiers killed. There are soldiers that is their main like thing of like, I don't like fighting in war with these kind of guys because they make these big moves that get everybody killed. And so you're meeting somebody for the first time who's like, hey, tell me, I want to know. And you're like, aren't you the guy who just got demoted because you got a bunch of people killed? And it's what I like about these scenes is you can see it. Like, I had the same reaction when I first watched it of like, why didn't she tell him? And so like that. And then when I watch it again, I'd be like, of course she doesn't tell this guy. His most recent resume item is this hotshot move that got a bunch of people killed.
And he was like making jokes. He was being cocky. He was throwing out one-liners, like everything about this guy. But she says it like I've worked with guys like you before. I get the vibe, which is I think part of what this whole sequel trilogy is about is these characters who are so defined by the archetypes that exist within the Star Wars universe at this point. Poe wants to be Han Solo so badly.
And ultimately, you can go back and forth on, yes, if she told him everything, then he wouldn't have been part of this other scheme that ultimately backfires and gets more people killed. But in a way, Poe's behavior in the rest of the movie validates her initial reluctance to trust him.
She doesn't have any reason to trust him.
She has no reason to trust him, and he spends the movie proving that mistrust was in some ways well-founded.
I want to clear the floor of George Lucas talk show members, though.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from Alex.
Sitting there with his arms crossed, steaming for a second.
Patrick, the producer, now takes control of the show to tell us to stop being on the show.
Rebuttal. Alex
well,
Robinson.
I think some of the points you bring up are valid. I think Poe is, despite the fact that he just had the setback and he did this dumb thing about getting all the bombers killed, he's Leia's second in command. I don't know how Admiral Holdo doesn't know who Leia's second in command is.
Not anymore.
What?
Not anymore.
What do you mean?
He got demoted.
Got demoted.
Well, I know, but the fact is that up until this moment, and what? So she slapped him. She filled out all the paperwork and told everyone on the fleet, "Oh, he's demoted." Like it got around that quickly that he was demoted, and also like
that'd be pretty juicy gossip. Acknowledge that'd be pretty juicy gossip.
Point of order: George Lucas talk show people cleared off the floor.
They're gone. You guys are gone.
Reclaiming your time.
Mute them.
No, and I just think that as a management style, if she's like, well, this is Leia's second in command, I better like handle him in a way that is like, because he's a big shot guy. And I can understand if he's some ensign going up there saying, "What's going on?" You could be like, "Listen, get away from me. You're out of your, you're out of your league. You're out of your depth, Donnie." Like, but this is like, and also, how does Poe not know who she is if she's the vice admiral of the fleet? Like,
well, he has that moment, right, when he's talking to non-Allo Asti, where he says, like, that's Holdo? Like, he has that sort of, like, kind of the response mirroring how the audience is going to react to Holdo, where it's just like, this person's a military leader? I'm supposed to think that she's a badass? I like that he is so confused by her, and she so immediately has him pegged in her mind.
Yeah.
Right.
I think ultimately my main objection to this whole storyline is, who cares? Does anyone really care that Poe's too hot-headed? Like, is that why go to Star Wars to watch a guy be told not to fly spaceships and say you're too dangerous? Like, I don't care about any of, like, this storyline seems so mundane, and like, this is like a Battlestar Galactica B plot right here. This isn't the main plot of a Star Wars film. This is not an operatic grand storyline. This is a kind of like personal management, human resources issue, not a space opera issue. Anyway, that's all. That's my point about it. But
Here's what I'll say. One of the notes I wrote for this minute, and maybe this says a lot about me, it just says, I just want him to kiss, you know? That's it.
Look, that's a big thing, and I just have to admit my bias here. These are, in my opinion, two of the sexiest people in movies. And I just watch these sequences with the two of them together, and I get such a charge from it. I do want to see them kiss. I remember someone tweeting when this movie came out, can we acknowledge the erotic height difference between Oscar Isaac and Laura Dern? And I think something about being a similarly short man, I don't know. It just, like, it gets me. I get juiced watching this. I like the sort of, like, weird oil and vinegar tension they have. I like pink hair. And I just find both of them so compelling as actors that I think to some degree, all of the complaints I hear about this dynamic and this plot line, and Alex, I think you put all of that very well, and I understand all of it. But for me, it's just like, I fundamentally find it very compelling when they're both on screen, to a point where then I have to reverse engineer, what do I like about this, rather than trying to figure out what don't I like about this. And the answer is probably, I just probably like these two actors working. I mean, there are a lot of things I like about it textually, but also I probably would have a lot of the same complaints were it not two people I found so compelling to watch play off of each other. And it gets back to what Connor said in a previous minute, that you feel like this has been missing from the Star Wars universe for a little bit, where the prequels feel so kind of hermetic in their performances. And in the 70s, you have people like Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford who are perhaps pushing back against big Star Wars and trying to put a little more off the hump energy into it. It's nice to watch two people riffing in that kind of way.
And I would argue that what you would say is, oh, I don't need to see this administrative plot. That is exactly what, to me, makes The Last Jedi the Wire of the Star Wars films. Because The Wire is a film about the way systems work in a major American city, the way systems are broken, the things that are wrong with these, and ultimately that these systems are brought down by human elements. There are always small pieces of miscommunication and human behavior that ultimately are the sand in the gears of these big systems. And I would say that one of the most successful B plots of Empire Strikes Back, one of the most successful comedic plots, is entirely administrative. It is Darth Vader's dissatisfaction with every one of his underlings making mistakes and him firing them by strangling them to death. And so there is precedent within perhaps the greatest of all Star Wars movies for dealing with staffing and dealing with hierarchy and dealing with someone who is unimpressed with the people who are working for them. And in this case, ultimately, a lot of consequences will come from the fact that these two people are not trusted based on the assumptions that they're making about each other based on what they know. Because he knows about who Holdo is, but he hasn't been refreshing the website for the staff of the Resistance. He hasn't seen what her headshot looks like. He has just heard some things, and then he's immediately like, oh, I'm going to sidle up here and explain how things work here. I'm Leia's second in command. And what she knows about him is that he just messed up. And that's the reason that he's not second in command. And he reminds her of the people that she's seen making mistakes through her whole career. And this guy's explaining to her how things work. And then she explains back to him, no, well, this is how things work right now. And I don't need your help right now. I need you to wait until you're given an order because I outrank you.
I
which
also
is
think
yeah.
I think to laser focus in on this minute, what happens within this minute in particular, a thing I really love
why we're
here
here.
is that, he jumps into the fray and it's like he's literally trying to sneak into her shot, right? Like this is like her hero shot and he's popping into the frame and she's not even making eye contact with him. And I think it's setting up the sort of point of this plot line. I do think the thing Rian Johnson's trying to do here is contend with how overwhelmingly large the legacy of Star Wars is. Not just for, now a new batch of filmmakers coming and taking over the mantle, after decades of it being one of the most culturally omnipresent things and always under, the grip of one man. But also how you just would hear for years and years, decades, people saying, like, I want to make my Star Wars. This film is going to be my Star Wars. Young actors want to have their Harrison Ford role. They want to be Han Solo. Like, it's like, this is how we think of a blockbuster being and a star-making performance, and a star-making character and all this sort of stuff. I think what's interesting about Poe as a character is, and this is set up from, I feel like, early in Force Awakens, he wants so badly to play the role of the guy who doesn't care, right? The hotshot rebel who does things by his own book. But he secretly cares so much. He's a dork. He's a dork, and he's a sensitive dork who wants to be a hero and actually cares about other people and is to some degree putting on this act of being like a cowboy. And so he's saddling up into this frame and going like, hey, Holdo, you know me, I'm Poe. I'm number 5 on the call sheet. I was in the last movie. I'm being set up as one of the main characters of this trilogy, so I guess I should now be the most important part of this plotline. And she's sort of not even looking at him going like, I'm in charge of all these people, in charge of all of this. Our numbers just got, like, shrunk to nothing. I mean, we're trying to, like, rebound here. I can't hold your hand through all of this. Like, you might think that you're the star of your plot line, but I'm in my own movie here.
Yeah. And also there's an element as well of like, you were the star of The Force Awakens. I was in Jurassic Park. I was in Blue Velvet. Like, you're going to come in here and act like you're in charge of this. There is a certain amount of like screen history that comes into play when you bring in a familiar actor, in the same way that like Liam Neeson coming into Phantom Menace automatically was imbued with this gravitas. And there is something about Laura Dern coming into this that is like, okay, hello, we have a real actor coming in here who's going to like sink her teeth into this scene and take charge. And I think that is in play, along with, as Griffin mentioned, the subtle eroticism of the height difference, which I think is also very much in play.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to step back into the alternate universe where this was Akbar's arc and see the sexual tension between Akbar and Poe.
Yeah. Look, I'll say I also find Akbar very sexually charged on screen.
Oh, yeah.
It might have given me a similar juice.
But then I will step further back into what I do believe is the ultimate one. If this scene had been Jar Jar, and Jar Jar had gotten the chance to...
Jar Jar and Akbar.
Jar Jar and Akbar is your pitch, Alex?
Yeah.
Jar Jar. Well, I'm just imagining...
puppets.
I think Jar Jar would have been very happy to see Poe.
Mm-hmm.
But then also maybe gently chided him for like, you killed the whole bombing squadron. But then maybe also his take would be like, we both make big mistakes. You're messy like me. I think I can imagine Jar Jar playing the scene in a way where he's like, no, Jar Jar's in charge now, but also like, we're both kind of goofballs who make mistakes. My mistakes don't get everybody killed. You make a mistake that made everybody get killed.
Also, Jar Jar and Laura Dern have similar heights and similar necks.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, I feel like this minute's very contentious. But there's one thing that we haven't talked about, and it's very important. And that's what's on those dang screens, and how have they not updated the technology? It's still just a bunch of line drawings, like circles and lines. How are they reading them? What do they mean? How have we not gotten any better at this? It's been 25 years. That was a big thing I was looking at in the background. It
well,
still
that's how
looks
you know
like
it's Star
Hoth.
Wars. Yeah.
I know.
It's letting you feel comfortable in it a little bit. It's like, hey, it's Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars, even though we have new people with purple hair, and that other puppet you like just went out the window.
That's
one. It's still Star Wars.
That's one expectation I wish they had upended.
All right,
Patrick,
Give me new screens.
What is it telling them? It's telling them everything they need to know. Why aren't there more details on the screen? Because it would distract. They just need to see where the things are, what the trajectories are. They're focused. They're streamlined.
I think what it also tells us is that within the world of Star Wars, during this era, there is no Steve Jobs figure. There's no one who comes in who's going to be like, let's make these interfaces a little bit easier. Let's make them more intuitive. We've been using the same, like
Guardrails.
We're not, because it feels like sometimes they don't have the same access. They don't have access to the same technology that Tom Cruise has in Minority Report, which feels much more attainable.
This is a universe perhaps tragically lacking in disruptors, right? So you just have a culture of people going like, yeah, technology's good enough, right? Why don't we don't need to upend these things? Yeah.
Well, they've been at war for so long. They haven't had time. Once there's a new galactic piece, maybe they'll take time.
We're famous for slowing down the pace of technology.
It may also be that every time there's a really cool piece of new technology that's going to maybe lead to the next thing, a bunch of rebels blow it up.
Very possible.
That's true. Two Death Stars. Why we can't have nice things? Every time we have something, they blow it up.
Well, this, believe it or not, the same scene continues until tomorrow. We get the end of this kind of confrontation, and we get the beginning of a new one, in a sense. Can you guys come back tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
I actually can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd have to move some stuff around. I can try, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it.
Well,
I can be here.
All right. We'll just zero in on Connor for tomorrow. Open invitation, but I think it's all going to just be us and Connor.
Connor showcase.
Sorry.
Okay.
In the meantime, before tomorrow, why not go get yourself a Star Wars Minute t-shirt? If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that Alex Robinson is wearing one. The one that he is wearing, currently unavailable.
Discontinued.
But we have a lot of other ones out there. StarWarsMinute.com/merch, MERCH, and that'll take you to our t-shirt shop. It's not just t-shirts. You can get a mug. You can get a notebook. You can get all kinds of stuff with our lovely designs on them.
Tapestry.
Look at that.
Also
not available right now. But you can go there, get them, and we'll meet you back here tomorrow for another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.